All right, and we're back. You're listening to R2 Cents, and we're discussing
Guns.
guns and the role they play here in America. It's an insanely large role, if you ask me. When you look at other countries, they don't seem to be so prevalent, and what do you know? There don't seem to be nearly as many mass shootings or massacres or
Guns.
But hey, coincidence, right? Just a coincidence, I'm sure.
Oh, well, now that is some bullshit.
I don't think there's any question about where I stand on guns. I've made it no secret. But I am very aware that a lot of people disagree. And you know, it's really interesting. This is one of those topics where no matter where you stand on the issue, whether you're more on the pro-gun side or if you're staunchly against guns, I can honestly say that no two people agree 100%. At least not in my experience. And that is not the only thing I've come to learn. Oh no, not at all. If there's anything my various discussions, debates, research has taught me, it is this. Anyone on the pro-gun side, whether they're 6 years old and don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they're the leader of the NRA and don't know what the hell they're talking about, they all seem to have 5, maybe 6 talking points that they use every single time. It's really quite remarkable how consistent it is. I've never once met a single person who was pro-gun who brought a new idea to the table. It's always the same arguments. And I've got to tell you folks, no matter how many times I hear them, they never sound any less ludicrous and insane. It will make me mad to hear them brought up because they're so insane. And these people from the NRA, from organizations like Americans for the Second Amendment, they use these arguments that are completely fallacious and unsound and nuts. And they try and use them for real justification to put more guns in the hands of Americans. I mean, a very serious issue, and yet they're using arguments that a six-year-old could have come up with. They don't make any sense. And you don't just have to take my word for it, folks. Today we are going to hear all of the common arguments the pro-gun people usually bring up straight from the source, straight from the top. We're going to hear from men like Larry Pratt. Larry Pratt is the executive director of Gun Owners of America. He's also a former member of the Virginia House of Delegates. In a recent CNN interview with Piers Morgan, Mr. Pratt brought up one point over and over again, and it's a point that all gun advocates tend to really try and ingrain in the minds of the world, and that is this.
The fact of the matter is, with guns comes safety if the guns are in the hands of the good guys. And when you say the good guys can't have guns, the bad guys have a monopoly, and horrible things such as the shooting at the schools take place.
What he means by this is that guns should be readily available everywhere. Or perhaps rather that everyone should be armed virtually at all times. You never know when a mass shooting may occur, and if it does, you want to be ready. You want to be able to pull out your gun so that you can shoot that son of a bitch before he shoots you. Okay, with this mentality, considering the most recent shooting did take place at an elementary school, Mr. Pratt went on to say that the teachers, yes, that's right, those kindergarten and first grade teachers should have been packing heat. They should have been locked and loaded so that they could have taken this son of a bitch out. When asked about it, here's what he said.
Where would the teachers put the guns?
People can carry firearms in a concealed fashion, do it all the time. The laws provide for that.
Wait a minute. So in a school full of 600 children, including 5- and 6-year-olds, you would have teachers walking around armed, carrying the guns on them.
People are walking around with guns outside of schools all over our country, and we don't have those kinds of problems.
Sorry, Mr. Pratt, but that is incorrect. To imply that we only have these kinds of problems in schools is really pretty ridiculous. These shootings happen all over the place. This year alone, there was a mass shooting in a movie theater, in a Sikh temple, in a Walmart parking lot, and in all sorts of street alleys and whatever. Most of them don't actually occur in schools, and so we do indeed have these problems outside of schools. Now, that aside, I don't know what it was like where you guys went to school, but when I was in first grade, kindergarten, I had great teachers. They were wonderful and they really impacted my life. One thing they were not, however, were trained marksmen. Maybe I went to a weird school, but their specialties tended to be reading, writing, math, science, and the development of young kids. If a shooter had ever come into the building and opened fire, I can guarantee you I would have much rather have had my teachers leading us to safety and keeping things under control and keeping us calm than going to grab their gun, getting it set up, taking aim, and trying to shoot this guy. Chances are, if they had done that, we would have been left with no leader, and good God, I don't even want to think about what would have happened. So, really, when you get right down to it, this argument...
completely insane.
Okay, so moving right along here, it came as no surprise to me that the second genius point Mr. Pratt had to make was really pretty much just the same as the first.
Why do you believe, given that you have 300 million guns in circulation and the worst gun crime rate of any of the civilized countries of the world, that more guns is the answer to less gun murder?
Because the problem occurs, sir, in those areas precisely where we have said no guns. The problem doesn't occur where the guns are allowed freely to be carried, to be used by people. There we have very low murder rates.
Wrong! Sorry, Mr. Pratt, but once again, you're full of crap. Just the opposite of what you said is true. For example, Arizona and Alaska are two of the states with the most lenient gun laws in the entire country. Coincidentally, they also have the highest gun homicide rate. Isn't that weird? According to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, states with little or no gun laws see 9 times as much gun crime as the states with strong gun laws. Let me repeat that. States with little or no gun control laws see 9 times as much gun crime as the states with strong gun laws. 9 times as much gun crime as the states with strong gun laws. Now, this is based on research from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Notice how Mr. Pratt did not cite any studies or research. He just pulled that statistic right out of his butt.
Oh, God.
Moving right along. All right, what other insights did Mr. Pratt have for our friend Piers Morgan?
The President of the United States has indicated he wants to ban assault weapons. What is your view?
I think we need to ban gun control laws that keep people from being able to protect themselves. The problem is not going to go away if we ban this or that gun. We've tried that. That doesn't work. Doesn't even work in England. You've had mass murders there. All over Europe there have been mass murders.
What?
Now, if I may, Mr. Pratt, let me give you just a little tiny piece of advice. You mentioned Europe. You mentioned mass murders in Europe and other countries. Might I suggest you leave other countries out of this? Don't get me wrong. Yes, other nations have indeed experienced tragedies and the occasional massacre. However, no other nation has seen as many mass shootings and tragedies in their entire histories as we have in America in the past 12 months. And I'm not exaggerating. You see, friends, if you take the number of people killed annually by guns in Germany, France, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Japan, and add them all together, you get about 973. Yes, that's right, 973 gun homicides in 6 countries combined. In America, we see over 12,000. We see 12 times that many gun murders. We are 1 country, they are 6 countries. Yes, they've each had a tragedy or a massacre occasionally from time to time, but we see them numerous times a year. So in conclusion, Mr. Pratt, you might want to leave other countries out of this. What else would you like to say?
America is not the Wild West that you are depicting. We only have the problem in our cities and unhappily in our schools, where people like you have been able to get laws put on the books that keep people from being able to defend themselves.
What you just said
is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.